Hello and welcome to the PlayStation 5 review. My name is Kenny, and in the review I'm just going to be going over some of the main topics on the PlayStation itself, like the controller, the design, ray tracing, some gameplay, and just some of the things that you've just cared about the console and like the console overall. So the prices of the PlayStation 5, the one that I personally own, the digital only one, costs £360, and if you want the one with the disc drive on it, that will cost you £450, so about £90 extra for the disc drive, which to be fair, I personally would go for now I've got the digital one, mainly because with games, with resale and stuff like that, and second-hand market with games, you will probably save some money in the long run. So the design of the console, it is quite big to be fair. I think it looks quite good, but it's more like a statement piece to show that you have the new PlayStation 5 console, and I personally do think it looks really nice. However, the glossy plastic in the middle, it looks nice when you first get out the box, but because it's black and it's glossy plastic, it can and does scratch up very easily. Like with just gathering on it over the months you've got it, and when you wipe it off, it will scratch and marks will get on there, for like even by the sun, I reckon can mark it. So in direct sunlight, it doesn't look that good, but when you're using like a semi-dark room and in direct sunlight on it, it doesn't look too bad. But just something to keep in mind. And the console can also be fitted with side plates. The side plates come in loads of different colours, from white, midnight black, cosmic red, galactic purple, nova pink, and starlight blue. So what's new with the PlayStation 5? So obviously the PlayStation 5 is a big step above the PlayStation 4, and that includes new features like faster loading times, ray tracing, especially in the new controller. I'd say the new controller is probably the biggest feature of the new PlayStation 5. I'll get more on the controller and ray tracing later on in the review. It also comes with the new HDMI 2.1 port, which provides much faster speeds. So the PlayStation can output 4K at 120Hz, and is even advertised 8K as well, but I don't think that's been confirmed that it can actually output that yet, but technically it can, but I don't think it's supported yet. It comes down to ray tracing. The new PlayStation 5 is capable of that thanks to the new AMD Zen 2 processor. So with these chips, they are very powerful and very capable. So ray tracing is possible with these new consoles. However, it's only partial ray tracing, with it only being applied in limited areas in games, like on some windows, on like cameras and stuff like that. So it does look good, but it's only partial, and it's more of a marketing term in my opinion. Yes, the ray tracing does look good and it does add more realism to the game, but not by much. So moving on to next gen gaming, so as you can see with these side-by-side comparisons, there's been a giant leap compared to PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. With PlayStation 5 you get 4K up to 120Hz. On PS4 you got up to 1080p 60fps with HDR applied, and that's at best conditions. And just with these gameplay shots, you can see that PlayStation 5 has much better detail, much better colours, much better resolution, and just overall just much better quality. And obviously helped with the SSD, loading times are much faster, like probably like 5 times faster than the PlayStation 4. It is crazy on the leap that came. So moving on to the controller, I personally think that the controller is probably the biggest part of the PlayStation 5, with the most features ram-packed into the controller. So the controller obviously starts off with a brand new design, which I actually really like over the DualShock 4. This just feels more premium, more built well, and it weighs a lot more, it's got more heft to it, it just feels a lot more quality. The controller also features some new features, as well as a microphone, mute button, and it also features something called adaptive triggers, which is basically resistance in the triggers. So let's say like you pull an arrow or bow down or something like that, you can feel the resistance of you pulling the bow back. And like let's say you're firing a certain gun, you can feel the trigger of the gun in the actual controller, which feels a lot more realistic and immersive. However, I wouldn't use this for like online competitive games, but it just adds more resistance and more delay for you actually pulling the trigger. And yes, it may feel cool, but it isn't practical in competitive use. The controller also features something called haptic feedback, which is basically just vibrations. However, you can really feel them, and the vibrations are quite diverse, so they can mimic like an actual dirt road or something like that, or like you're running across glass, and you can feel the difference in your hands, which is very immersive and adds to gameplay. The controller can also come in all the different colours, like the side plates come in on most of them anyway, or they will probably be added as well. and some issues that I've had with the controller. So since I got the PlayStation quite early, this is an early model, so there hasn't been any hardware revisions on this, which there have been on the newer coloured ones. Like, the inside's a bit stronger and more durable. However, mine isn't, and have experienced some issues. Like on this one in particular here, the D-pad is quite wobbly, and also on this controller itself, I've also had severe stick drift, which is not great at all when you're trying to play competitive games. And it's not great at all when you're trying to play any game, to be fair. It's very off-putting and it's very hard to play with. However, I just squeezed down the stick that I was affected by, and it seems to have cured it so far. Who knows, it probably will come back in the future. Overall, I do think the controller is a very, very well built one. Try and get one with the serial number, I think the letter A on the end, that's how you know it's a newer version, so it will last a lot longer and it'll be a lot more durable, and you will have a lot more fun and longer lasting with it. So my final thoughts on the PlayStation 5. So I've had it for just over a year now, and I've loved every second with it. You know, I still look at it like on a daily basis and know how lucky I was at the time to go get it. So I got it in 2021 March time, which they were still really, really hard to get, because it was only about 5 months after they originally launched and the supply was quite limited. It still is quite limited now, the stock isn't that great, so it is quite hard picking one up. And if you do pick one up on, like, on the second hand market, it is still quite inflated with scalpers and stuff. But anyway, I've loved the PlayStation 5. It has been such a big upgrade over the PlayStation 4. However, I wouldn't really recommend getting one if you don't have a 4K screen, but that's the main feature about it, 4K 120Hz. 120Hz, you don't really need it. I don't have a 120Hz screen, and I still, you know, I'm still in awe about the graphics on the console in 4K. But if you don't have a 4K screen and the 4K screen isn't even your budget right now, I'd say save up and go get the PlayStation 5 as well as a 4K screen, because it'll make the PlayStation so much more worth it. But anyway, that pretty much covers it. If you've enjoyed the review, But anyway, that pretty much covers it. I hope you have enjoyed the review. I've tried to make it quite snappy, quite short, just to go get my point across in a quite a simple, easy manner. And I would highly recommend the PlayStation 5, because it is such a joy to use. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.